part of this you've heard about 7 weeks ago. So some of it's going to be and when I talked about it when I was leading the service, I said I'm going to see if I can get this off my chest just by this, and I wasn't able to get it off my chest. So we had to go a little bit, dive a little deeper. So there's going to be some stuff in here that you haven't heard, and there's going to be some stuff that you might remember. Yeah. Matthew 17:19 through 21. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart and said, "Why could not we cast him out?" And Jesus said unto them, "Because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible to you. Howbeit this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting." So, every time that I've heard this verse, and I've even taught this, we talked about the seed and how insignificant, how small the seed is, and the more I thought about that, and there was a video that I watched on Instagram that said maybe it wasn't about the seed. And so I anytime I watch a video online, I try to go back and kind of see what I get for myself. And so maybe this seed, maybe what he's talking about here isn't necessarily about the size. So we'll go to Matthew 17:20, but in the ESV. Because he said to them, "Because of your little faith." So Jesus right here points out that their faith is small, and it don't get much smaller than a 1 to 2 millimeter seed. Okay? So maybe he wasn't talking about what was he talking about? The grain of the mustard, the tiny thing. What was he talking about? And so that's when, as I started to dive into this thing, and I'm trying to wrap my head around, what are you talking about here? I'm reminded of another mustard seed in Matthew 13. And I believe that Jesus was using this as hey, remember the mustard seed that I talked about over here? Remember what I said? And he says, he put another parable before them, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is larger than all the garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air can make nest in its branches." So maybe it's not necessarily about the size of the seed, but it's about what the seed becomes. Yeah. Okay? And so I had to start studying mustard seeds. And there are numerous different types of mustard. You have yellow mustard, which everybody knows. You have black mustard. Black mustard is you get that in brown mustard, spicy brown mustard. That's where your black mustard comes from, or mustard seed. And then there's an oriental, and there's like 3 or 4 different ones, and I can't remember them all. But everything that I've read has talked about the mustard seed being more than likely the black mustard seed. Okay? So the black mustard seed is common. Most scholars believe that it was the black mustard tree that Jesus was referring to. It's the largest and the most pungent of the different types of mustard plants or trees. So it's the strongest in flavor, the strongest in smell. So, you've opened up a thing of mustard and you can smell it real strong, real strong. And as this tree grows, it grows extremely fast. So a mustard seed will go from a 1 to 2 millimeter seed up to a 15-foot tree, plant, shrub. It's more like a shrub than a tree, but at what point do you look at it and go, that's a shrub or that's a tree when it's over 10 feet tall? Okay? So in 3 months, so in 80 to 95 days, you will have a seedling that sprouts. It takes about 10 days for it to sprout. And then it shoots up to 10 feet in a little over 3 months. It's extremely fast growing. Not only does it grow fast, but it grows very large. So the main stem, I read that it could be as big as a man's arm. Now, it didn't say if it was as big as Adam's arm or Trey Hedrick's arm. It just said a man's arm. So that's open to interpretation. So you can decide which arm you want to go with. But with this thing growing extremely fast and extremely tall and strong, it's able to withstand any storm quickly. So as our faith, Jesus is talking about our faith here, talking about the mustard seed, but using a metaphor. And so our faith in the right conditions can grow extremely fast and extremely strong. So what are the nutrients to grow our faith? What are the nutrients to grow our faith? So Matthew 17:21, it gives us a little hint. Matthew 17:21, and it says, howbeit, this kind goeth not but by prayer and fasting. So the first thing we're going to point out is prayer. Prayer is a nutrient that our faith needs to grow. Yeah. Okay, and I'm not just talking, and I'm not putting it down, but I'm not just talking about prayer. I'm talking about that closet prayer, getting inside, getting deep. And Parker has testified about this multiple times, that when he first sat down and really got in a closet by himself and started to pray, it really tested his faith. But it grew his faith. Because is this thing really real? Yeah. Is this thing really real? We have to ask ourselves that. And as we answer that question in our heart, that tree starts to grow. Next is fasting. And we don't like to talk about fasting, as I probably need to fast more. But we're talking about, and when I say fasting, I'm not talking about doing it for health reasons or diet or that. I'm talking about really getting down and setting aside and making a sacrifice for the Father. Yeah. And for a deeper relationship with the Father. Yeah. We might go over that sometime later. The different types of fast, how long, that type of stuff. We might do that later, but right now, fasting. If you don't fast, Matthew, where am I at? Matthew chapter 6 and in Matthew chapter 9, Jesus has called every one of us to fast. Okay? If you have health issues, go talk to a doctor before you start fasting, please. I'll tell you, okay, I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going down the rabbit trail for a second. I just want to give you all a glimpse. I know that in the Bible it talks about, don't talk about, when you're fasting and don't let people know. But I believe that this grew my faith and our experience. So, my Uncle John had cancer. It's my mom's brother, and he's passed away. But they were having trouble finding a treatment to slow down the cancer. They were having trouble. Everything they tried, and one weekend he was going to go to Morgantown, to the hospital in Morgantown, and I felt it in my heart to fast. And it was the first time that I'd ever fasted, done like a total fast, nothing but that. I drank nothing but water for 3 days. And so normally I would get up in the morning, I would go to work, and I really wouldn't get hungry till about 10 o'clock, and then I'd eat a little snack, and I'd be fine pretty much the rest of the day. Well, that particular day, I got up at 6, and I entered into this fast, and I said, Lord, this is what we're doing this for. This is what I believe you want me to do, and I want to find a treatment. And so I get to work, and at 7:30, I began to starve. Okay? Normally, I don't get hungry till 10 o'clock. At 7:45, my hunger went away. I said, Lord, before at 7:30, I'm like, Lord, I'm not going to be able to do this if you don't do something. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to if you don't do something. And at 7:45, my hunger went away. And for 3 days, I was not hungry. Little did I know that the only person that I told I was doing this was my dad. I told Dad, I'm doing this fast, and it's what I'm doing it for. Pray for me. Well, at 7:30, he prayed for me. He entered into a fast for me that I wouldn't be hungry. Okay? It's not about not talking to people about it. It's about the attitude that you're coming with that. Okay? I believe that we need to, hey, I'm entering into a fast. I need you to pray for me. Leave it at that. Yeah. But that Monday, I found out that they found a treatment. And that treatment helped my uncle to live for a little bit longer. Yeah. So fasting, and that grew my faith, Yeah. The first time, I'm telling you. Whew. Next, discipleship. Discipleship's your next nutrient. Whether you're the discipler or the disciplee, as we come together in relationship and we are pulling together, our faith will grow together. So I'm telling you what, I love what's happening in this place. When Pam and I started dating, we was talking about the church, and it's my family church. It's family. Well, I look around now, and it used to be that when I was talking to her when she first, I said, I'm related to this person, this person, this person. She goes, just tell me who you're not related to. And I was like, them and them. And that was, well, in the past 5 years, it's changed. I can look around and I go, well, I'm not related to them, and I'm not related to them, and I'm not. And it's awesome. I love it. I absolutely love. I love the family. I love the family atmosphere. But that's the thing. This thing, we're not family. We're becoming family together, and that's what I believe discipleship is all about. It's about relationship. It's about pulling together. It's about coming together and growing together. And when you have a problem, you come, hey, I got a problem. I got you. That's what this is about. That's it. That's what this whole thing's about. And as we come together and we grow together and we disciple each other, we're going to grow. Study. Next nutrient, study. Dive deep. That's the one thing that I wrote down here. Dive deep. Just don't look at the surface. Because if we looked at the surface, we would have just seen a little tiny seed. But now we're seeing the tree. Yeah. We're seeing the tree. Our last nutrient that I'm going to, it's not the last one, but it's the last one I'm going to experience. And we've talked about that this evening a little bit. Different people talking about their experiences in this and that. I'm going to talk about, I'm looking around and I think everybody in here has heard about my car wreck. But you're going to hear about it again. So just about 25 years ago, a little over 25 years ago, I had a really bad car wreck. 40-foot of guardrail went through the windshield of my car, went up over the steering wheel and went out the back of the car. Crushed right side of my face, cut my finger off, 3rd-degree burn, got cuts all up and down my arms. Can't see out of my right eye, got a bunch of cuts. I was jacked up. Well, I don't know how many of you heard this story. So after about a month, I had to go back to the military. And so I had to stop in Raleigh General because that's where I was taken first. I was Raleigh General, and then I was transferred down to Charleston General. And so I was there and I had to pick up, well, when we got in there, we found out that the guy that dispatched the ambulance to my car wreck was a good friend of Dad's from when they were paramedics together back in the day. And so we got to talking to him. And he told me, that there were the paramedics that pulled up on my scene. One guy had been a paramedic for 20-some years. He'd seen it all. He knew what he was doing. The other guy kind of knew. Hadn't really been around a whole lot. So this guy with the expertise of being a paramedic for 20 years and seeing stuff, when they pull up on my scene, he said he looked over and he looked at the new guy and was like, "Hey, have you ever seen a decapitation?" And the guy was like, "No." And he goes, "You're about ready to." And so they get out of the ambulance, and I guess I hear him get out of the ambulance talking or shut the doors or something, and I start yelling, "Hey, get me out of here!" So by expert opinion, I should be dead. So another story, when I went to pick up stuff out of the car after the wreck, it was at an impound yard. I walk up and I tell the guy what we're doing, and he takes me and we start walking, and I'm standing beside the car, and he goes, "Your car should be right around here." And I go, "It's right here." And he goes, "That's not your car." I go, "Yeah, that's my car." He's like, "No, it's not." I go, "That's my T-shirt right there with the blood on it. That's mine." He goes, "Nah, it can't be." He goes, "I'm pretty good. I've been doing this for a long time, and I can usually pick the cars that people don't survive out of, and nobody survived that car." Here I am. So I had 2 experts say that I shouldn't be here, but God. But God. Faith grows strong, grows fast. Probably should have started with the roots, but we're going to work. Now we're going to talk about the roots. What can we learn from the roots? The roots grow deep. They grow deep. So it's one singular stem that grows down 3 to 5 feet, depending on the soil and the composition. 3 to 5 feet. Okay? And then there's all kinds of that shoot out from that singular stem in the ground, root stem in the ground, the taproot. And it shoots out, and it's 3 to 5 feet in diameter. So because of this foundation, it is extremely, extremely hard to get rid of. You can't get rid of it. You got to dig up all the root to get rid of it. It makes it extremely stable because of the foundation. We have a stable foundation. Jesus is our faith. That faith in Jesus Christ, that gift of salvation, you can't get rid of it. You can't pull it up. No matter the storm around, the stem is strong, the roots are strong. Because of the deep root system, it gives a very high drought tolerance. And we've talked a little bit, even when we feel like all hope is lost, even when we feel like we can't get up. Even when we feel like we're at our wits' end, our roots deep. Our roots deep into the river that is flowing from the flowing. Even when it looks like we're in the wilderness, Jesus is there. Ephesians 6:16. In all circumstances, take up the shield of faith, which you can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one. So, my faith has grown through this study. And I'm going to tell you one of the key reasons. So, the earth and it might be because of Harlan doing his teaching on creation that made me try to kind of put this together in my head, and it might not make sense to you, but it does to me. Okay, so Paul wrote this a little like 3,500 years, or not 35, around 2,000, 1,500 years ago. He wrote this. Okay? 4,000, 6,000 years ago, God created the mustard plant. Okay? Now, when God created the mustard plant, he knew that Paul was going to write about a shield of faith. Okay? And then he knew that about 2,000 years ago, Jesus was going to use the mustard seed as a metaphor for our faith. Okay? Go with me. Okay, I'm going to read this sentence, and there are three words about yea long, and I'm going to butcher them, but I'm going to try. Okay? So mustard plants are high in glucinolates, okay, which, when broken down with the enzyme myrosinase, upon tissue damage, release toxic bioactive compounds, isothiocyanates. Told you I was going to butcher them. Okay, that serve as natural biofumigants, which suppress soil-borne pests and sanitize the soil. So the mustard plant has these things in them, has this glucinolates that are its shield. It has its own shield. So the metaphor that Jesus was going to use with the seed was created 4,000 years before he ever was going to talk about it. And he knew that 6,000 years later, some little country boy is going to end up trying to pronounce these words and put this stuff together. Yeah. Yes. Coincidence? I think not. Okay? What we say in class the other day, coincidence is when God decides to remain anonymous. So, our faith protects us. And as we go through our lives and the storms of life come at us and people say you're nuts, my experience and my faith trumps your unbelief. Yeah. Trumps your unbelief. I shouldn't be here, man. But God. Okay, last point. Okay, as this, because of how deep the roots go and how fast this thing grows, this plant was was considered invasive. It still is. You don't plant this with other stuff, okay? Because of this plant, it was invasive. It was so invasive in Jesus' time that it was considered unclean. And it was not allowed to be grown inside the city. It had to be grown outside the city in special places. It couldn't be grown in the regular gardens because of how it would just take over, because of how invasive it is. Our faith can take over. Our faith can take over this entire state, world. It's invasive. Not only that, but because of it being invasive, so invasive, it was considered unclean. Well, who else is unclean? The Gentiles. Jesus was saying this faith is all-inclusive. It's not for just the clean. It's for the unclean. It's for the people outside the city. It's for every nation, tribe, and tongue. And he was also over in, no, wrong button. Over in, He was actually jumping into a message, or not into a message, but into a concept that he had already taught them, talking about so that the birds of the air can come and make nests in the branches. That's another illustration of inclusion for all in this faith. Our faith grows strong, it grows fast, it grows tall. Together, we're unstoppable. Together, we're unstoppable. And that's all I've got.